Doctor Who started off life as a kids' TV programme on BBC One back in 1963, and apart from a break in the late 80s, 90s, has always been a popular addition to the worldwide TV schedules. But in that time, has there ever been a good Doctor Who video game? Well, I'm Phil from NGR, and today we're going to ask that very question. To date, the Doctor has appeared in 13 official licensed games, with release dates spanning from 1983 all the way up to 2013, and spreading out over most of the Doctor's regenerations. Well, we're going to briefly take a look at the games and then wonder what the future holds as we head towards the 60th anniversary of the oncoming storm.
Just as a bit of a disclaimer, I'm a bit of a Doctor Who fan, and we have covered one of the games here on the channel before, so if I'm not collecting DVDs, looking at the scripts, dressing up in costumes, or looking at the models, then I'm watching the Time Lord defeat the Daleks, the Cybermen, and all manner of scary beasts.
Well, here in part 1 we're going to be taking a look at the games that were released before the reboot of the series in 2005, which is affectionately known as New Who. I hate that phrase, but you know, I didn't make it up. With part 2 coming soon. So don't forget to like and subscribe to see when that lands. So, with no further ado, set your phasers to stone and... What? Oh, is that not right? Don't worry, we'll cut that bit out. So, with no further ado, Geronimo and allons-y. Let's see what the future holds.
Starting off in 1983, the Doctor first appeared in Doctor Who The First Adventure on the BBC Micro. This featured the 5th Doctor, although the limited hardware displays him just as a pixel. You battled through 4 levels, you had 15 regenerations, or 60 minutes to complete the 4 levels. The 4 levels were based on popular games of the time, namely Pac-Man, Battleships, Frogger, and Space Invaders. And to be honest, it was a good way to spend your time back in the early 80s. In 1985 we were spoilt for Doctor Who games, with 2 games being released, namely Doctor Who and the Warlords and Doctor Who and the Mines of Terror. Doctor Who The Warlord was a text adventure game, released solely on the BBC, although a Spectrum version was planned but it was never released. The game was completed in 2 parts, with side 1 of the cassette giving the player a password to enter side 2. It's your basic text adventure, nothing too fancy here I'm afraid. The Mines of Terror was released on the Amstrad CPC, the BBC Micro and the Commodore 64, and this is a much more colourful game. It's based on the engine for Castle Quest. Indeed, this started life as a sequel to Castle Quest before the BBC got hold of it. You control the Sixth Doctor and his cat. Yep, his cat. And you have to halt the Master's production of Herbonite. You have to retrieve the plans for the Time Lords and return to safety. You can die in lots of ways, one of which being robots that look exactly like Daleks, but they're not named as such due to rights issue with Terry Nation. And the game was too big to fit on the standard ROM for the BBC Micro, so it came complete with its very own chip that needed to be installed with the game disc. This game was also advertised for the ZX Spectrum, but the game never surfaced. In fact, the software developer Micropower folded soon after the release, with the reason cited as the cost for producing this very game. Yeah, Time Lord victorious indeed. Dalek Attack is probably the most famous of the games released in this era. Let out of the Vortex in 1992 for DOS, Spectrum, Commodore 64, Amiga and the Atari. This game sees you given the option as playing as either the 2nd, the 4th or the 7th Doctor and is set over a number of different locations, including London, Paris and even the Dalek home planet of Skaro. The game has a sharp difficulty level and you'll need all your wits about you to get past stage 1. The game is also multiplayer with second player controlling either Ace or the Unit Soldier. The Spectrum version is scaled down somewhat with only the 7th Doctor and Ace available to play as, and it has the honour of being the last licensed game being released for the Spectrum very late in its life cycle in 1992. This one is well worth a blast. The 16-bit rendition of the theme tune is a joy to behold. Doctor Who, The Destiny of the Doctors was released during the 90s sabbatical the Doctor was on, and it made no reference of the 8th Doctor, who was actually introduced a year before in Doctor Who the movie. Released on Windows, it features the remaining 7 Doctors, and it was the last time that Anthony Ainley would play the classic Master.
Master have harnessed the majesty of your psychic intellect and made you my puppet. Where's your sense of humour? I look no more ridiculous in this vehicle than the Doctor does in his beloved Bessie.
The game features many of the enemies from the classic series, and the Doctor has to complete a total of 28 tasks to complete the game. The reviews at the time were mixed at best, with Anthony Birch stating the game was one of the most unplayable, unenjoyable games ever created. Bit of a missed opportunity here.
That you fought a sentient computer called...
So there we go. That was a look back at the video games that spanned Doctor Who's classic series. Now, it can only get better from here, can't it? Because obviously with the best generations of computers and consoles coming up, the games can only get better and more immersive. I mean, that's all they can be, can't they? I mean, they can't get any worse. Anyway, tune in for the next episode to find out. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you later.